Femi Otedola's story didn't start in boardrooms or business meetings, but in the simple, everyday moments that would unknowingly shape the man he would later become. Born in November 1962 in Ibadan, the capital of Oyo State, Femi was the second son in a family of 6 children. His father, Mr. Michael Otedola, was not only a prominent businessman but also a man of political influence, serving as the governor of Lagos State in the early 90s. Despite the affluence that surrounded him, Femi Otedola's early life was not without its challenges. His parents instilled in him a deep sense of responsibility, discipline, and ambition. But it wasn't just the wealth and power of his father that influenced Femi, it was the world of business that sparked his imagination. At just 6 years old, while other children were playing in the streets, Femi found his first taste of entrepreneurship. He started a small business, offering nail care services to his family and friends. It wasn't much, but it was his first venture into the world of business, a world that would later define his life. Femi's Femco business wasn't about the money, it was about the drive. It was about the spark that would fuel his hunger for success for the rest of his life. Femi was far from just a child of privilege. Unlike many who might have been content with relying on their family's wealth, Femi felt the weight of his father's legacy pushing him to be more. This wasn't just a story of being born with a silver spoon, it was the story of a young boy with a fire inside him, eager to prove that he was more than just his family name. Raised in Lagos, Femi attended one of the best schools in the state. He was always ahead of his peers, not just in academics but in his ability to see the world in a way that most couldn't. His father's work in business exposed him to the world of corporate Nigeria, and from an early age, Femi began to understand the power that money and influence could have. But while others saw his father's success, Femi saw an opportunity to carve out his own place in the world. Femi's youth was filled with moments that shaped his future. His father's prominence opened doors for him, but it also placed him under immense pressure. There was always the unspoken expectation for Femi to follow in his father's footsteps, to build on the Otedola legacy. Yet, he never let this define him. Femi's ambition didn't stem from his father's wealth, but from a desire to build something entirely his own, a dream that would soon lead him into the world of business. By the time he completed his secondary education, Femi was already thinking beyond traditional schooling. He enrolled at Obafemi Awolowo University in Al-Ife, where he pursued a degree that would set the stage for his entrepreneurial career. But even as he focused on his studies, he couldn't help but immerse himself in the world of business. While many of his peers focused solely on their education, Femi took a more practical approach. He worked on managing his father's printing press, learning the ins and outs of business ownership, management, and how to run an operation efficiently. In this period, Femi had his first taste of what it meant to be truly responsible for a business. His father's company wasn't just a means of making money, it was a complex entity that required vision, discipline, and leadership. Femi quickly became a key figure in the company, taking on increasingly larger roles and proving himself to be more than just a passive heir to his father's fortune. The years following Femi Otedola's early ventures would be defined by 2 critical elements: his father's influential role in Nigerian politics and the rigorous education he pursued to sharpen his entrepreneurial mindset. Though his father, Michael Otedola, was a towering figure in Nigeria, serving as the governor of Lagos State in the early 90s, Femi's story is not one of simply riding on the coattails of his family's success. Instead, it is a story of how Femi used the lessons imparted by his family and his education to carve his own niche in the competitive world of business. Despite the political power his father wielded, it wasn't the public life or the political achievements of Michael Otedola that influenced Femi the most. Instead, it was his father's approach to business, his sharp mind for investment and understanding of the economy that became a central theme in Femi's development. Michael Otedola was a businessman at heart, and it was from this side of his father's character that Femi drew the most inspiration. Femi's time at Obafemi Awolowo University was not just about earning a degree, it was about learning the practical skills that would shape his future. During this period, he wasn't just a student. Femi was already managing his father's printing press, an experience that gave him invaluable exposure to the intricacies of running a business. The press was a small operation, but for Femi, it was a crucial stepping stone, teaching him everything from logistics to human resources, customer relations to financial management. His father's influence extended beyond business. Michael Otedola taught his son the values of discipline, perseverance, and focus, values that would become Femi's core principles in life. But it wasn't just about managing a printing press. Femi quickly learned that entrepreneurship required a deep understanding of the market and a willingness to take risks. These lessons, imparted both in the classroom and the family home, were fundamental to Femi's early development as a businessman. The education Femi received was not only from the university, it was the practical, real-world experiences that shaped his perspective. His father's mentorship was as important as the degrees and qualifications he earned. Michael Otedola wasn't just a father, he was a mentor who carefully crafted Femi's future, ensuring that the young man would have both the knowledge and the wisdom to succeed. But Femi's education wasn't confined to books and lectures. He learned by doing. When he wasn't studying, he was working on his father's business, observing his father's decision-making process and getting his hands dirty in every aspect of the operation. While other students were exploring career options, Femi was already laying the foundation for his own success, honing his business acumen in real time. The next stage of Femi Otedola's journey came when he was ready to step away from his father's shadow and take control of his own destiny. By the time he was in his early 20s, Femi had seen enough of the corporate world and the political stage to understand that success wasn't just about inheriting wealth, it was about taking risks and making bold decisions. His time at university and managing his father's printing press had equipped him with a wealth of knowledge, but Femi knew that if he wanted to build his own empire, he needed to take a leap of faith. In 1993, at the age of 31, Femi took a significant step by branching out to launch his first major venture, Centerfort ***. A financial institution specializing in investment and trading, Centerfort was Femi's first attempt to carve out a niche in the business world on his own terms. Although details about the company's early operations remain scarce, this venture set the stage for Femi's transformation from a young man under his father's wing to an independent entrepreneur. The transition was far from easy. Femi had to balance the expectations of his family with his own ambitions. His father's success had already set a high bar, and while Femi respected his father's achievements, he knew that he couldn't just inherit success. He needed to prove himself in the world of business by forging his own path. This wasn't just about money, it was about creating something that had his name on it, something that would stand as a testament to his own abilities and vision. Though Centerfort was short-lived, it marked a critical point in Femi's entrepreneurial evolution. He learned invaluable lessons about the complexities of the financial world and the challenges of building a business from the ground up. The company's closure was a setback, but for Femi, it was also a learning experience, a reminder that the road to success was rarely straight. The failure of Centerfort didn't discourage Femi. In fact, it only fueled his desire to succeed. He was determined to not just replicate his father's success, but to build something that was uniquely his. It wasn't long before he identified a new opportunity, one that would change the trajectory of his life forever. In 2003, Femi Otedola took a bold leap into the oil and gas industry. He established Xenon Petroleum and Gas Limited, a company that would soon become a major player in the Nigerian fuel distribution market. The decision to enter the oil sector was driven by Femi's keen business instinct and his understanding of the vast potential of the energy industry. He saw the growth opportunities in Nigeria's rapidly expanding market and understood that oil and gas were key sectors for wealth creation. Femi didn't just dabble in the industry, he went in with both feet. With a significant investment, he was able to establish a strong presence in the market. Within a few years, Xenon Petroleum was a leading player in fuel distribution, supplying major companies like MTN, Coca-Cola, and Dangote Group. Femi's ability to spot gaps in the market and move swiftly to capitalize on them became one of his signature traits. After the lessons learned from his first venture, Centerfort, Femi Otedola knew he needed to make a big, bold move if he was to break into the ranks of Nigeria's business elite. As the world's energy demands grew and Nigeria's oil sector thrived, Femi saw an opportunity that others might have overlooked. It wasn't just a chance to enter a profitable market, it was his chance to build a legacy that would outlast his early failures. In 2003, Femi made one of the most pivotal decisions of his career. He founded Xenon Petroleum and Gas Limited. He had already learned a great deal about business management, risk-taking and market analysis, and now he was ready to apply that knowledge to one of the most lucrative industries in the world, oil and gas. Entering the oil sector was a massive gamble. The industry was already dominated by established players and the risks were enormous. Oil prices could fluctuate wildly and the logistics of running a distribution company were complicated. But Femi's business instincts told him that the time was right. Nigeria's oil market was growing and there was a significant opportunity to capitalize on the demand for fuel distribution. Zenon Petroleum began with a few key strategic moves. Femi used his understanding of the industry to set up a robust distribution network, securing contracts with major companies such as MTN, Coca-Cola, and Dangote Group. These partnerships weren't just about securing revenue, they were about solidifying Zenon's position as a serious player in the market. Femi's commitment to excellence and reliability quickly earned him a reputation as a trusted supplier, and within a short period, Zenon Petroleum had become one of Nigeria's largest diesel suppliers. In 2004, Femi made another critical decision that would solidify his hold on the market. He invested 15 billion naira into expanding Zenon's operations. This investment allowed him to acquire storage depots, 4 cargo ships and 100 tanker trucks. The sheer scale of this investment wasn't just a business move, it was a statement. Femi was no longer a small-time player, he was now a major force in the oil and gas sector. This massive expansion allowed Zenon to become a dominant player in the distribution of diesel, and Femi's name quickly gained recognition in business circles. He had successfully navigated the complexities of the oil industry, and his company was now providing critical services to some of the biggest corporations in Nigeria. However, Femi wasn't content to stop there. The momentum that Zenon was gaining would not only boost his wealth but also put him in a prime position to influence the Nigerian business landscape. His next big move was to expand his holdings and secure a foothold in one of Nigeria's oldest and most established oil companies, African Petroleum. Just as Femi Otedola's empire seemed unstoppable, fate had other plans. The year 2008 brought a global financial crisis that sent shockwaves across economies worldwide, and Nigeria was no exception. The same industry that had propelled Femi to the heights of success, the oil market, was suddenly on the brink of collapse. Oil prices, which had been soaring, crashed from $146 per barrel to an astonishing $34. This sudden drop in prices led to massive financial losses, and the ripple effect was felt throughout Femi's business empire. Femi's company, Zenon Petroleum, was deeply tied to the fluctuations of global oil prices. The steep decline in oil prices meant that Femi's business lost millions. To make matters worse, Zenon had millions of dollars worth of diesel already in transit on the high seas, and the sudden price drop meant those shipments were now worth a fraction of what they were just days before. This wasn't just a financial hit, it was a crisis that threatened to unravel everything Femi had built. The losses were staggering. Over $480 million were wiped out in a matter of months, and the crisis didn't stop there. Femi's stock market investment plummeted by $160 million, and the devaluation of the Nigerian naira added another $258 million in losses. On top of that, interest rates in Nigeria soared, making it even harder for Femi to service his debts. His empire was now on the brink of total collapse. In the midst of this catastrophe, Femi faced a deep personal crisis. He had built his wealth from the ground up, and now it seemed like all of it was slipping away. In an emotional interview later, Femi revealed that at the peak of the crisis, he considered suicide. The weight of the financial disaster, combined with the emotional toll of losing so much, left him feeling as though there was no way out. But then, he thought of his family, his wife and children, and the thought of abandoning them made the decision even harder. "I had 2 options," Femi later recalled. "Either to commit suicide, or to face my fears and rebuild." In the end, it was his love for his family and his deep desire to protect them that pulled him back from the brink. His thoughts shifted from despair to determination. The man who had faced monumental losses now knew that his only option was to fight back, to rebuild, and to find a way to emerge stronger than before. The aftermath of the 2008 global financial crisis left Femi Otedola's business empire shattered. The losses were overwhelming and his financial situation was dire. Yet, in the face of such adversity, Femi's ability to adapt, learn and recover would come to define his future. Rather than succumbing to despair, he chose to take a step back, assess the damage and make a plan to rebuild. It was not just about restoring his wealth, it was about transforming his business and leadership approach for the future. The first step in his recovery was a bold move. Femi decided to step down from his role as the CEO of Zenon Petroleum and African Petroleum. Recognizing that the crisis had left him stretched thin, he appointed a new CEO, Mr. Kemiwa, to manage the day-to-day operations. This was a significant decision, but one that showed Femi's growing understanding of leadership. He knew that in order to recover and move forward, he needed to focus on restructuring his business strategy. By stepping back from the day-to-day operations, Femi freed himself to focus on long-term strategy and rebuilding his empire. It was a difficult decision, but it allowed him the space to assess the wider situation and realign his goals. The shift in leadership allowed Zenon and African Petroleum to stabilize and start recovering, but it was Femi's broader vision that would help take his empire in a new direction. While the crisis had caused immense losses, Femi wasn't content to merely survive, he wanted to thrive. One of his most important decisions during this period was the sale of part of his distressed assets to help pay down debt. In a strategic move, he sold off $400 million worth of loans, leaving him with $800 million still in debt, but in a much more manageable position. This move was critical in freeing up much-needed capital and putting his companies on a path toward recovery. As the oil market began to stabilize, Femi also saw an opportunity to further restructure his holdings. One of his key moves was to rebrand African Petroleum as Forte Oil ***. This wasn't just a name change, it was a symbolic reset. It was a signal that the company was not just recovering but was evolving into a new entity, with modernized systems and a fresh outlook. This rebranding process allowed Femi to reshape the corporate culture and governance of his companies, emphasizing innovation and adaptability. With Forte Oil now on a new path, Femi made another bold decision: he chose to embrace technology. The oil industry, long associated with traditional methods of operation, was evolving, and Femi understood that in order to stay ahead, his companies needed to be more efficient, data-driven and adaptable to future market changes. By integrating technology into his operations, he set Forte Oil apart from competitors and positioned it to take advantage of new opportunities in an increasingly digital world. Femi's leadership during this time demonstrated not only his resilience but also his ability to lead with foresight. The crisis had taught him valuable lessons about risk, responsibility, and the importance of diversification. These lessons would continue to guide his decisions as he looked beyond oil and gas to other industries where he could apply his business acumen. By 2015, Femi Otedola's journey had moved beyond the confines of the oil and gas sector. Despite his immense success in that industry, Femi knew that true wealth was never created by putting all your eggs in one basket. His ability to diversify into new markets would become one of the cornerstones of his business empire, and this chapter marks the beginning of that expansion. Having already transformed Zenon Petroleum and African Petroleum, Femi now looked toward the future. The challenges of the oil market, combined with his past lessons from the financial crisis, convinced him that he needed to prepare for a more sustainable and varied business portfolio. And so, Femi began to turn his attention to the power sector, a move that would prove to be a game-changer. In 2015, he made a landmark move by acquiring a 414-megawatt power plant, a significant acquisition in Nigeria's energy sector. This wasn't just a financial investment, it was a strategic shift. The power sector in Nigeria had long been plagued by instability, but with the right investments, Femi saw an opportunity to help solve one of the country's biggest challenges: power generation and distribution. His decision to enter the power sector was driven by a vision to diversify his holdings and secure a stake in an essential sector of the Nigerian economy. The acquisition of the power plant not only placed Femi at the center of Nigeria's energy challenges, but it also boosted his company's financial position dramatically. The value of Forte Oil skyrocketed, with the company's stock price increasing 13-fold, signaling the success of this diversification strategy. Femi's entrance into the power sector was a clear signal to the business world that he was not just a one-dimensional entrepreneur, he was a businessman with a broad vision for the future. He wasn't interested in simply being one of Nigeria's leading oil distributors, he wanted to impact every sector he touched. This decision proved to be not just a financial success but a symbol of his ability to think outside the box and innovate. By investing in power generation, Femi also demonstrated his understanding of the long-term potential of the Nigerian economy. Despite the challenges faced by the energy sector, he saw the power market as a vital part of Nigeria's growth and industrial development. This foresight would help him not only to increase his wealth but also to cement his place as one of the most influential businessmen in Africa. In addition to his work in energy, Femi also began exploring other avenues of investment. He invested in shipping through his company, Seaforth Shipping, which further strengthened his position in the global supply chain. With his expanding interest in various industries, Femi's diversification strategy was paying off and his empire was beginning to take shape as a multifaceted conglomerate. While Femi Otedola's business ventures skyrocketed, his personal life was anything but predictable. Behind the glitz and glamour of the billionaire lifestyle lay a series of challenges, both personal and emotional, that would test his resilience in ways that business failures and financial crises never could. It's easy to see a man like Femi as a powerful mogul whose every move is calculated for success, but in reality, his life of the business stage was filled with moments of vulnerability, hardship, and complex relationships. Femi's personal story is one of love, family, and sometimes betrayal. He has 5 children, but not all of them have followed in his footsteps into the business world. His daughter, DJ Copy, is a prominent figure in the entertainment world, using her talent as a DJ and entrepreneur to create her own empire. Another daughter, Tani, found her way into the spotlight as well, though her relationship with Femi was fraught with its own set of complexities, as she tried to navigate her own identity while being under the shadow of her famous father. Yet, the most controversial aspect of Femi's personal life revolved around his romantic relationships. His marriage to Nana Otedola, a Ghanaian entrepreneur, was publicly lauded and together they had 3 children. Their union was often portrayed as a fairy tale, but behind closed doors, there were challenges that threatened to tear their family apart. One of the most infamous incidents involved blackmailers trying to exploit a scandal involving Femi's alleged affairs. In 2016, 2 young Canadian women attempted to blackmail Femi with video evidence of an alleged affair. The incident created a media frenzy, as rumors spread and speculations grew about the authenticity of the claims. It was a challenging time for Femi, as he faced public humiliation while trying to protect his marriage and his family. However, Femi fought back with resolve, filing a complaint that led to a court case and the eventual conviction of the women involved. The incident was a painful chapter for Femi, but it also reinforced his determination to protect his legacy and his family. Despite these personal hurdles, Femi's relationship with his wife, Nana, endured and their marriage remained intact. This resilience in the face of betrayal and blackmail became one of Femi's defining characteristics, not just in his business dealings, but in his personal life as well. Femi's family has always been a source of strength for him. While his business empire may have been built on hard work, ambition and vision, it was his family that gave him the emotional support to keep going during the toughest times. His children, though living under the spotlight, have been an integral part of his journey. Femi's desire to protect them, provide for them and see them succeed is what kept him grounded even in the most trying moments. By the time 2025 arrived, Femi Otedola had solidified his place as one of the most powerful businessmen in Nigeria and indeed, Africa. His journey, marked by incredible highs and devastating lows, had taught him lessons that shaped not only his business strategy but his character. From the brink of financial ruin during the 2008 global financial crisis to re-emerging as a billionaire, Femi's resilience and vision had made him an icon in the world of business. As of early 2025, Femi's net worth was valued at a remarkable $1.6 billion by Forbes, a comeback that few could have predicted given the depth of his losses just a few years prior. His rise from financial devastation to billionaire status was not just a testament to his business acumen but to his ability to adapt, evolve and take calculated risks. This was not a man content with one victory. Femi's ambition had always pushed him to do more, to conquer new frontiers. Femi's diversified portfolio was now more impressive than ever. His interests spanned across industries, from oil and gas to power generation, shipping and finance. His involvement in Jerigo Power plc, a power company he established, was a shining example of his forward-thinking approach. Femi saw the power sector not just as a profitable market but as an essential part of Nigeria's development, and his investments there were paying off. In addition to his ventures in the energy and shipping sectors, Femi Otedola had also made strategic moves in banking. His investment in FR Bank allowed him to become the largest shareholder with a 5% stake ***, a percentage that would grow to 11.6% by 2024. His ability to strategically position himself in diverse sectors reflected his understanding of market cycles and his knack for finding opportunities where others saw challenges. But wealth wasn't the only thing that mattered to Femi. His philanthropic efforts had become a key part of his legacy. Femi believed that with great wealth came great responsibility, and he had used his success to give back to society. He had made significant donations to educational scholarships, state governments, and religious institutions. His contributions to national causes, including his generous donation to Nigeria's national football team in recognition of their achievements at the 2019 African Cup of Nations, demonstrated his commitment to improving the lives of others. Femi Otedola's personal life also remained in the public eye. His children, particularly DJ Cuppy and Tani, were regularly in the media spotlight, each carving their own paths to success. DJ Cuppy had become an international sensation, blending her love for music with her entrepreneurial spirit. Femi's dedication to his family was clear despite the challenges and scandals of his earlier years. His marriage to Nana Otedola remained strong, and his children's success was a source of pride for him. His life, now a mix of business ventures, family and philanthropy, had come full circle. Femi had not only rebuilt his empire but had also positioned himself as a role model for the next generation of Nigerian entrepreneurs. His story was proof that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, determination, vision, and adaptability could turn a person's life around. Femi Otedola's incredible journey from near collapse to billionaire status is a testament to the power of resilience, vision, and hard work. His story serves as an inspiration to anyone facing challenges, showing that with the right mindset, anything is possible. Femi's legacy is not just about wealth, but about the lasting impact he has made in business, philanthropy, and within his family. If Femi's journey has inspired you or you've learned something new today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more inspiring stories of resilience and success. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What part of Femi Otedola's story resonated with you the most? And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to stay updated on more powerful and motivational content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.